Live from Run Your Mouth World Headquarters.
First up, what priests were doing at the Vatican that got the Pope to call them a bunch of
baguettes. Everybody wants to make baguettes and everybody's panicking about baguettes.
Just because I said to leave the boys alone, it doesn't mean you should be touching each other. On Wall Street, top strategists ask if now is the time to start investing in North Korean excrement balloons.
And look at me covered in feces. I am just so gorgeously covered, caked in feces.
With the war effort failing and Putin asking to negotiate, the U.S. instructs Zelensky to start firing American missiles into Russia and more directly, poke the bear. We're gonna have World War III, man. In New York City, Trump is found guilty of 34 counts of we're not sure. Our legal experts said this. To think of the STDs Benjamin Franklin brought from France to spread amongst the youth of our nation, only to have a front-runner for president be taken down over hush money payments. Our forefathers would be outraged. And lastly, should the Supreme Court justices be responsible for the decisions of the dumb bitches they marry?
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
Today's episode is brought to you by The Black Captain, Season 2, available now on Spotify. And Summer Porch Tour, the thing that if you listen to the show, you better show up to. And now, our show. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a early morning edition of the Run Your Mouth podcast. I was ready to go last night. I had this entire episode planned. I wanted to get to it. I wanted to wake up today, have a fresh start, hit the road to Atlantic City, maybe play some craps on the boardwalk until our show. But no, Davey Smith had demons to slay. I wasn't going to go up against that. I had to watch that thing live. Did you guys catch Dave Smith last night taking Cuomo's soul? It was pretty excellent. If you didn't catch it, you should go watch it. All right, listen, we've got a full episode. We've got stacked topics. We've got to get into what happened with the Donald Trump stuff. And while I'm doing nonsense at the top of the show, if you guys just showed up, go watch that little Pope joke at the beginning. It's the best intro joke we've done yet. Anyways, we did the little plugs. We got all the news topics. I do have one thing that I want to discuss with you guys before we get into the news, which is, for anyone, it's good to have a little bit of humility in life. And so for anyone who maybe takes the information on this program a little too seriously, I just want to let you guys know that last night I electrocuted myself in my sleep, where I've been talking to you guys about my peeing habits and waking up to pee and doing that a whole bunch while I sleep. And I would say about 3 months ago, the light bulb went out in my bathroom. And a normal human being would climb up, you'd look at what the light bulb is, you'd order a new light bulb, and then every time you wanted to use the bathroom, you could use the fail-safe system of turning on the light bulb and enjoying yourself some light in the bathroom. And that's not the only light bulb that's out in my apartment. Just about every single time I come back from a weekend on the road and it's nighttime and I walk in and I turn on I remember, oh yeah, there's all the light bulbs here that I also haven't replaced. So if I don't know, if for some reason you ever want to rob my apartment, you're going to need a flashlight. I'm just letting you know there's no light bulbs. We do have studio equipment. If you want to walk to the far end of the apartment and you don't want light in the kitchen or the bathroom, you can turn on the massive studio lights. But there's no, the light switches, there's no lights. And so when the light went out in my bathroom, I had a brilliant idea. I was like, all right, listen, I'll get the light bulb eventually. I'll take care of it. What am I going to be shitting in the dark for the rest of my life? Am I going to pretend like this is an outhouse? Am I going to pretend like I'm back in the horrors of Childeberg? That's not the way I want to live my life. You know what I'm going to do? I was like, I'm going to buy a light bulb. I'll buy a light bulb. That's ridiculous. Don't tell me that I'm such a lazy, incompetent human being that I can't just go online, look at what the light bulb is, buy the light bulb, and screw it in. It's not that. What is this, some old 1950s joke about how many single men does it take to replace a light bulb? And I guess it's all of them because no one will actually do it. So I had this big ball of Christmas lights. You know why? Because every single person ever has the, I'm going to build myself a barn. I'm going to put up these Christmas lights. I'm going to take these mushrooms. I'm going to forget light bulbs. I'm just going to have Christmas lights on my ceiling and I'll be the coolest person that ever lived. And then you buy the Christmas lights, you stick it in your closet with all the other garbage that at one point in time you bought and then you never touch. And so when the light bulb went out in my bathroom, I was like, all right, until as a measure, until I buy a light bulb, I'll just make use of these Christmas lights. And so I took the big ball of Christmas lights, I just put it over the sink in my bathroom, and I put it there, and I was like, I'll use this for one day. I was like, this has to be a fire hazard. There's no way when you're taking a shower and you got all this steam going, it makes sense to have plugged in Christmas lights. That can't be a good idea. It's 3 months later. It's 3 months later. And do you think, and I get annoyed sometimes because sometimes you're trying to fish around, you're trying to plug in the Christmas lights just so that you can use your bathroom. And then you want to go outside to turn on the light. And then you remember that there are no hallway lights because you haven't put those in. I spend too much time reading the news. I should probably just take care of other things in my life. Anyways, last night I woke up in the middle of the night to take a piss, and other than the time when I was in Key West and I woke up because I thought I was being attacked by missiles, this was an odd one where I was half asleep, went to plug in the thing, and I had my finger, I guess, on one side of it, and it only plugged in one side. And you're like, I don't have to pee anymore. I'm just gonna go back to bed and pretend like that didn't happen. So, anyways, we're going to do it's a sad state of affair in the United States of America where the guy that's too lazy to replace his light bulbs and electrocutes himself in his sleep. I can smell again, though, so it fixed that. Whatever little bout of new COVID I had on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm totally restored right now. How come no one's exploring that instead of ivermectin? You see, if they never did the vaccines and you were just free to experiment with whatever to see what got rid of your COVID, someone would have figured out that electrocuting yourself in your sleep while you had to pee cured it. I never had COVID. I had a light cold, and then there was one morning. I don't know why. I couldn't smell for a little bit, but I'm healthy. I'm good to go. We're doing this gig in Atlantic City today. It's been 7 days. We're symptom-free. Anyways. So, all right, let's get into the news. What do we got? We got a lot of topics to discuss, including the latest from the Donald Trump trial. But here, some light news to get the show started. Some light topics, some things that aren't as intense. And why not start with, we've been talking about all these kids and they're getting their bailouts. They're going to school, getting these fancy degrees, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know about that. I guess if you're getting a graduate degree, it's probably hundreds of $1,000. But, if you're just getting your typical college degree, what does it cost you? 40 grand a year, 45 grand a year. So you're spending $160,000 plus. You could be taking out even more student loans. So you got a little money on the weekends to go clubbing and pick up some of them college chicks. So this video was making the rounds, and let's see what some of the students at NYU have spent their $160,000 plus getting degrees in. Let's give this a watch.
My name is Jacob, and my concentration is environmental science and sustainable business.
Hi, my name is Lex, and my concentration is the performance of self.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. My concentration is creative direction, production, and narrative through the arts, performance, and written word.
Hi, my name is Karina Gomez, and my concentration is in journalism and Latin American studies, with an emphasis in human rights, collective memory, and political violence.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Lee, and I studied the sociology of environmental communication.
Hi, my name is Reed, and I study music business and gender studies.
Hi, my name is Dominique, and
This might as well be, I studied bongs, sitting on couches, and eating too much junk food. Where was this when I was in college where you got to just make up your own field of study? My field of study is not showing up to classes and proving how unnecessary the classes are for taking the exams and cheating off the Asian kids. I'm getting a minor in how much marijuana you can smoke in a given semester and not show up to classes, but still pass because for some reason you were forced to take a dance class. I'm taking a minor in how much of the same television show you can watch if you smoke weed and then never get bored of it. I'm taking a All right, what else we got? Oh yeah, and then for anyone who thinks that these kids, they might learn their lesson. They might realize, oh, maybe I should actually learn things that are of value. Here's the nice thing about being in the compliant group is that nothing is ever your fault. Government's being very kind to the compliant people, that as long as you're compliant and your failures in life are the result of your compliance with government, well, then at a minimum, it's never your fault. And so here's an article from the New York Times. PTSD has surged amongst college students. Now, if you went and you fought in war, are you at all disturbed by the fact that college students get to claim that they have PTSD? No, I'm not gonna lie. I had a rough time in college. I failed a lot of classes at the end. Told my parents I graduated. Had to continue going to college. Had to pay for those classes. It wasn't a good time. And I left college in kind of a rough spot. But to claim, and now this is rich. You know what they have PTSD from? It was the lockdowns. It's because government, took away 2 years of their lives, told them that they're all going to die if they saw their family members. They were going to be killing them. Then they told them that they had to learn all this information over Zoom, that the world was coming to an end and that global warming was going to doom them anyways. And we could see how, the 8% of kids who are the most vulnerable to bullshit might actually have fallen into all this stuff. Where they got trained for, hey, you better stay home, you better be scared, you better wear your mask, and even if you wear your mask, you're only going to survive to live in a world that hates all minorities, and that no matter what you do, you can never help these minorities, and unless you in your life, and even if we correct the issue of the minorities who are being treaded upon by society, it doesn't matter because there's global warming and we're all going to die. You could see why some of the most vulnerable of our students, they'd be rattled, they'd be shooken up. But it's what's nice about being in the compliant group is that later on they'll run studies and they'll go, it's not these kids' fault that they can't get jobs. They have post-traumatic stress disorder because of what they gave to society when they fought in the COVID wars. When we were at war with COVID, and some people, they had to just stay home. They had to sit on their couch. They had to watch endless Netflix. They had to spend government checks on drugs and alcohol. Well, we can't, after facing such a battle and such a burden in their lifetime, we can't possibly expect these people to go on and have careers. So, here's your college bailouts. Here's future medication. Take all the anxiety medication. I mean, you've got a diagnosis now of PTSD, the same thing that our soldiers had when we had them fight in unnecessary wars and witness unnecessary horrors and their friends dying and lost limbs. But we understand. You guys, you fought hard in the COVID wars, and so don't worry. We're prepared to give you this technical medical title and cover your expenses forever. So the point just being, just make sure that you're within the compliance group coming forward, because at least for now, while government pretends that we have endless money and just keeps printing it, we live in a world where they can cover these socialized losses. And as long as you're in the compliance group, they'll cover it. All right. What else we got? We're going in the wrong direction here. House COVID panel demands access to Fauci's private email cell records after alleged secret back channel communications. And I can just predict how this is going to go. It's going to start. I had a second email. You tell him I had a second email. I don't remember a second. Sure, I had a Gmail account. But that was only for emails that are personally about business, personal business emails. Business emails, those go through the government account, but the personal business emails, just wait. Once that guy finally takes a witness stand and they finally go after him, he isn't going to remember. And I said that? I signed that? I'm an old man. I'm 94 years old. I don't remember doing that. Are you talking about when I was sending my personal business emails from my personal? No, those weren't government related. Those were personal government actions. All right. And then we got one more random topic, and then we'll get into our coverage of the Donald Trump shenanigans. Passenger heard hellish noise after seeing someone jump to death in airplane engine report. And guys, listen, nobody, you're everyone listening to the show, you're living good lives. You've got the information from the Run Your Mouth podcast. We've told you about YoKratom.com. We've told you about SheathUnderwear.com. There is no reason, zero excuse whatsoever for why anyone within the Run Your Mouth family should possibly be having dark thoughts. But if for some reason you are, don't make a mess for random people. Listen, if you want to check out early, it's your body, it's your choice. Don't do it. Go speak to someone, take more drugs. There's a way to find joy in your life. But you don't make arrests for random people. If you're already going to jump into the engine of a plane, at least book yourself on Spirit Airlines. Have them sit you on the tarmac for 10 hours. Just open up the door to the thing when they finally start the thing and jump into the engine into protest. Or find Nancy Pelosi and just spontaneously combust onto her. Splatter her. She likes the blood anyways. That's how she's got to go find kids in order to get that into her pores and stay youthful. But don't just to off yourselves and create a mess for random strangers. What do you want the last part of your legacy to be? Having inconvenienced random people that never did any ill upon you whatsoever? That's no way to go. That's no way to do it. You want to run your car in your garage? You want to jump off the Golden State Bridge, or explode yourself onto Nancy Pelosi, or get vengeance on Spirit Airlines? I can understand that. All right, I think I had one more stupid random topic, and then we can get into our breakdown of what happened with Trump. And our last stupid random topic for today. Oh no, we got two, but this one's kind of important. This was great. Putin, the other day, we saw the article. Hey, let's negotiate. Let's call it a war. I'll keep these little slices of land that we've already taken from the Ukrainians. You guys agree to not have NATO in Ukraine, and all these Ukrainian people can stop dying, and we can call it a war. And you know what America responded by saying? No. Not only that, but we're going to start giving authority to the Ukrainians to use the missiles and other weapons that we're providing them to attack Russia directly. It's been a while since we've taken out one of your bridges, since we've taken out one of your pipelines. So the not war that we're currently not having with you directly shall continue and be escalated. So, you know, there's that. You want to talk about epic policy blunders and ongoing watching of stupidity. Instead of admitting, finally, you know, for 2 years, you pretended like you guys were winning the war and you weren't. And you continued to sell the American people on, we got to support the Ukraine because more of their young men have to die. And now finally, you know, you could go, listen, this war was honestly, it was over on day one when both China and India didn't back us and continued to buy the Russian oil. That's what happened. We thought everyone would get our back. We'd gang up on Russia. We'd take them off the board, and then we'd figure out who we were going to gang up on next. And sure, we were able to bully Germany into it. We were able to bully the rest of Europe into it. But India and China were like, what are you guys doing over here? And instead, they're like, yeah, we'll continue buying your stuff. And you know what? Why don't we have a conversation about getting off this dollar? They're really fucking us over with the dollar, weaponizing the thing. Look at what they just did to Russia. If they just did this to Russia, imagine what they could do to us. And the second that decision was made where China and India didn't get our back, we could have just gone, I guess this one didn't work out. And we probably could have called it a day right then, saved a whole lot of Ukrainian lives, and just gone, our bluff didn't work. But now, as we continue to let the shenanigans go on and possibly escalate into nuclear war, instead of calling it a day, what do? We don't just allow it to continue. We're actually escalating the thing. By the way, I just watched what might have been one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to, other than Dave Smith taking Chris Cuomo's soul. I watched, I think it was Jeffrey Sachs on Tucker Carlson, start to finish. Incredible episode. If you haven't watched that, I don't actually listen to all that many podcasts. I'll take your recommendations because sometimes I find myself on flights, I find myself on drives, and there's nothing better than learning information that you don't know about. I like the informative podcasts. I like when you can get an expert on. Like every once in a while, I catch that guy from Chicago, Mearsheimer, whatever that guy's name is, and I'll catch him on a long form podcast. This is the best format for learning stuff that you don't know. I was never good at sitting in school. I'm still not very good at reading books, but you get like an expert on a podcast with like a Rogan or a Tucker or like a Dave that's good at actually like asking questions and getting the guy to share his story. Anyways, he was talking about how close in the past we've been to nuclear war and how stupid it is to allow these situations to just keep on going and to potentially get to escalations. And so this is certainly a step in the wrong direction of what's been long and stupid. All right, and then here's the last one. McDonald's $5 value meal is coming in June and staying for just a month. This was already a change. It already started off, hey, people are all excited. There's going to be the $5 McDonald's menu. And then I got a conspiracy floating around in my crazy brain because they're already talking about, Walmart, they're dropping their prices on all sorts of items. Target's dropping its prices on all sorts of items. You know what's going to happen? You're going to go into these stores, and because of government pressure on the prices, There will be things at lower cost, but it's going to be shit that you used to find at a dollar store. When you used to walk into Odd Job as like a 12-year-old and think you were buying something and would last a half a day, you're like, oh my God, I bought headphones for 25 cents. Oh my God, this is incredible. It's going to be, you know what? They called up the warehouses in China and said, hey, what's the worst shit that you guys have that normally just goes to, what's that weird website? Zaidu, Baidu? What's the one that's got like the things that are like pennies on the dollar? And you look at it and it looks like you're just watching a commercial for lead paint. The one that had the Super Bowl commercial with Live Like a Billionaire. Remember, what's the name of that website? People in the chat, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Do you guys the website that I'm talking about? I guess Walmart is going in the direction of that thing. We're like, shit, we got an election coming up. Everyone's upset with the prices. Can we stock our shelves with dollar store cheap crap that's not going to last very long? And I'm calling out this $5 menu. You're going to have items like chicken nuggets with just the dark meat. Remember that was the thing? They got the dark meat out of the chicken nuggets because it looked disgusting. And so they figured out how to reprocess whatever soy and other bullshit they packaged together to pretend like it's a chicken nugget, but you wouldn't see little dark spots in it. Well, now it's going to be the deep fried beaks. That's what you're going to get. Or, it will be McDonald's, just the salt, where it's just the salt from the French fries, except they'll repackage it as healthy and tell you that you're getting electrolytes. That's what you're going to have on the $5 menu. Expect for like the next like 4 or 5 months, prices to be coming way down, but on stuff that's a half a chicken nugget at McDonald's will be available for 1 month. While they try and make adjustments to the prices. So I told them to quit being greedy. And so they restarted the $5 menu with salty chicken beaks and rib bones. You can get rib bones at McDonald's now with the sauce. You can lick the sauce off a bone for just $5. I did that for you. And I got rid of the fees. They were going to charge fees on it, but I got rid of the fees. All right. That's a lot of absolute nonsense and random talk. But before we get into our fine coverage of the Donald Trump court case, why not give a shout out to our sponsor, sheathunderwear.com. It's the summer months. You don't want to be without your sheaths. Go to the website. You don't even need to use my promo code this month. They've got a super discount going for Father's Day. Big Papa for 30% off. Your dad's got testicles, I hope. I hope you got an old school dad, still being a dad, still out there. One of these OG dads with balls. If you got an OG dad with balls, still identifies as a male, was a male, why not help him? Because listen, at some point you're going to see your dad's balls. I'm just letting you know. It happens to all of us. It happened to me with my grandfather. One day you walk in, does he have dementia or is he just pranking you? You'll never know. But you're going to see some saggy nuts. And if you want to make those nuts less saggy or maybe tucked away or protected so you don't have to see them, you want your dad to be living a better life? Why not buy him a pair of sheath underwear and you use promo code Big Papa, or you can take 20% off and let them know that I sent you. Use promo code RYM for 20% off. Big Papa, if you want the extra 10% off, which I understand, I'm Jewish. If there's a better coupon, what am I not going to go for the better coupon? You know what's funny about coupons was as a kid, when my mom was like going to the Bed Bath & Beyond, that was a big coupon store, or you saw people with coupons. I thought coupons were pathetic. What is wrong with you in your life that you need a coupon? I felt that way, but now with the online shopping, I'll scrape the internet till I find a coupon. I'll listen to podcasts until I find a coupon. I won't purchase something until I find a coupon. You got no coupon? I ain't buying your stuff. But then if I ever see like a lady at a supermarket that has a physical coupon, I'm like, you filthy Jew. But then online shopping, if you think I'm purchasing something from your store without a nice little coupon, it's not happening. All right, let's take some comments because I've ignored you guys have been here. You're hanging out live, 300 people here, and we haven't taken a single comment yet. Nothing to see here, just a Boeing whistleblower. Timu, thank you. That was the name of the shitty website I was thinking about. I don't think you need to be an expert how nuclear war is stupid and escalating with nuclear powers is stupid. Thank you, sir. Dave is so influential, he couldn't even get his candidate nominated in a single-digit fringe third party. So what are you trying to say, Sean? What are you trying to say? We're over here. We're having a nice podcast. We're talking about your dad's testicles, and you got to throw this negativity our way? Check out the Dollop Comedy Podcast about real stuff in history. Dirty Mike saying a Jew that hates coupons. Mike Hager saying he would like the all dark meat nuggets. And Everybody Loves Jimmy, no Run Your Mouth Sheath collab, a pair that says the greatest balls. You know what? Bobby the Bank. Well, we're still waiting on the 2024 limited edition Run Your Mouth sheath hats, but perhaps we couldn't talk to Bobby the Bank about a custom. I don't know if I'm big enough for that. I'm not quite at the Michael Malice level, and I don't want to be taking pictures with my that's not for me. Showing off my non-abs. All right, let's get into what everyone's come here for. The deep cutting analysis of a guy who recently electrocuted himself in his sleep, of what went on in the Donald Trump court case. Trump tries to move past his guilty verdict by attacking the criminal justice system. It's the diverging realities that we live in. If you're on the left, Donald Trump has always been a criminal. They finally busted the guy for being a criminal. There's never been a president who was such a criminal in the past that they actually labeled him as a criminal. There was a jury of his peers and 12 random people came together. They deliberated for 2 days and they decided that Donald Trump is in fact a criminal. And how can it be that the right would possibly front a person who 12 random people in New York City labeled as being a criminal? That's reality one. Or you get reality two, which is, how is it possible that amidst all of the actions of previous presidents, we decided to go after this guy for hush money payments in what should have been a misdemeanor, and then in order to make it a crime, and by the way, it starts becoming very circular as to what exactly he was in trouble for. Jury gets instructed for, apparently, judge made a donation to Joe Biden causes at some point, somehow got randomly picked, or at least according to Trump's lawyer, and tried 3 Donald Trump related court cases. And by related, I mean other people within his winning coalition that you would want to take down. And then not only you got Alvin Bragg in a Democratic district saying, I'll go get this guy. And then in order to get past the statute of limitations and not just have a court case about a misdemeanor, you have to tie it into the election fraud stuff. But then the jury gets instructions that they don't have to agree on what the underlying crime is. And so there's never, I might even not be saying this right, because honestly, I'm confused about it. So there was never a court case about what the underlying crime was. The crime was trying to potentially, the crime was mislabeling your payment to conceal another crime, the other crime being an unknown of which the jury didn't have to agree upon. And that's the diverging realities that we live in now. If you're on the left, you get to go, wow, the guy's always been a criminal and we got the criminal. And if you're on the right, you get to go, this is further proof of the fact that they've weaponized not just the deep state, but now the justice system against Donald Trump. And this is proof of the banana republic that we live in. All right, so first, just to get out of the way, here's what I think would probably be the funniest of outcomes. Donald Trump, this guy's a living cockroach. He eats nothing but, did you guys see him backstage when he was eating Milk Duds? When was the last time he even ate a Milk Dud? You know how far down, and not only did he have the Milk Duds, it looks like he sent someone to a movie theater to get, I'm first thinking of this now as I play back the picture I saw of Donald Trump eating backstage, or in, it's always theater and a stage to me. He's in court with his kid, and they're in the back room. They're eating themselves some dinner or some lunch, and he got all the candy out on the table. He sent someone to a movie theater for movie theater candy. There's no other place where you're getting those size boxes. That's Richie Rich using your wealth right there. That is being a big 4-year-old. I want the Milk Duds, but the ones you get at the movie theaters. I don't want any other sizes. Get me that in the little sweet things you don't find anywhere else. Bring me those too. They might find me guilty. I need my sweets. Anyways, I don't know what I was trying to talk about. I got distracted by the snacks. Yes, Donald Trump, the guy's going to live forever. Here would be the funniest case scenario, especially as we end up with all these new things. You can swap your head onto other corpses, and CRISPR, you can fix your DNA. You can buy organs from third world countries. We've got the elites, some of these people, Nancy Pelosi, you think she's ever going to die? So anyways, they should send Donald Trump to jail. He lives another 136 years, leaves jail, runs for office, becomes president, and then doesn't give up the presidency and rules to age 300. That would be a fun one. Or he gets sent to jail, and then he does it Goodfellas style, where he builds himself the nicest jail you've ever seen, and he just broadcasts the world's greatest party from this jail. He rules the world from jail, but it's not a jail cell. I mean, he literally takes the United States funding that would have gone to the wall or other enterprises, and he goes, you know what? You guys can come into the border. You know what? You guys, no more health care. And we all approve this. Congress approves it. It's the $45 billion Donald Trump prison cell where maybe instead of, we don't even do house arrest, just to show how much money we can waste on things. We go, listen, we're going to get rid of the wars. We're going to get rid of the wall initiative. We're going to get rid of even having a country just to have this spectacle. And we're going to airlift Mar-a-Lago out of Mar-a-Lago. We could just have him go there and be under house arrest, but that's not the way we're going to do it. We're going to put Mar-a-Lago on top of a current federal penitentiary, and then Donald Trump will just be president from there, and he's not allowed to leave, but he can invite whoever the hell he wants over, and maybe every single night we'll send a new hooker on the government's dime and make sure that we have a better accountant who does the money payments for him, and we'll broadcast the entire thing, Goodfellas style, just a party from prison. That's what he should do. He should go to prison, win the presidency, rule from prison, but make it the nicest prison that you've ever seen. All right, so let's take a look at some of the actual coverage of what existed here. All right, let's take a look. So this was from the Wall Street Journal. This was from before we got the guilty verdict. In his instructions, Merchant told jurors that in order to convict Trump of felony falsifying record charges, they must find he did so to conceal another crime. That's what I was saying before. It's a little bit circular. He was falsifying records, but it was to conceal another crime. That alleged second crime, he told the panel, is a state election law offense that makes it illegal to conspire to promote the election of a candidate by unlawful means. I already get confused. I've read this paragraph like 5 times. Let's just reread that sentence. The alleged second crime, he told the panel, is a state election law offense that makes it illegal to conspire to promote the election of a candidate by unlawful means. Now, what were the unlawful means that he used? In falsifying the record to conceal the unlawful means, I guess it's the monetary payment by his lawyer that was above the donation that you could make to a candidate. But let's continue. Jurors may disagree on what those unlawful means are. Now, wouldn't you have to come to agreement on that? If the underlying crime is that you promoted the election through unlawful means, don't you have to try the guy on what the unlawful means were and come to a conclusion that that's what happened? Not in this court case. Jurors may disagree on what those unlawful means are, the judge said, but still find Trump guilty. He offered them several options: a tax law violation, a federal campaign finance law offense, and a state falsifying records misdemeanor. In other words, just go in there and come back guilty. Doesn't matter how you get there. Here's 50 pages of instructions, which, by the way, you guys can't take with you, but we're just going to assume that you got this down perfectly because we know how intelligent the random people that can serve on a jury in New York City are. And here's a very complicated and circular way that you can find him guilty. Doesn't it just sound like you're basically instructed, just come back as guilty? Because I can't even follow this. I have all the time in the world to read this. I didn't even see the 50 pages of instructions. I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do? All right, let's continue. Here was Donald Trump responding to being found guilty. And you want to talk about simple and practical, let's give this a listen.
Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating and he's going rampant, and Bragg is down watching a trial.
This is a big jug of water
on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense, I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected. She testified. marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense, paid a lawyer, is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that. This is what the falsification of business records were. And I said, what else are you going to call it? What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to.
Sounds reasonable to me. I mean, take a step back and look at the fact that he's even being prosecuted in this case and how circular what he would be being prosecuted for is. And then also the fact that if you pay a lawyer and then he does the thing incorrectly that could have been done legally, isn't that on the lawyer? And by the way, if the lawyer's a known liar and that's the only person that can testify to the fact that you actually did the crime and then he's busted lying in court, what evidence, whatever. Before you get lost in all this, isn't this the most simple and practical thing that you've heard about the entire incidents? Hey, I paid a lawyer and I had my bookkeeper record it. How was she supposed to record it? Here's what Thomas Massey had to say. I thought that this was interesting. Central to the case against Trump is an assertion that the hush money payment to Daniels should have been reported as a campaign expense. Among all campaign finance reports that have ever been filed, is there a single example where a hush money payment was reported as a campaign expense? That's a fair point. I mean, if this was standard practice that it was supposed to be recorded, I guess, as a campaign expense, I guess when people look at campaign expense, there must be hush money payments up the wazoo. That would actually be funny if it was recorded as, if that was the standard procedure, if that was the way that it was supposed to be recorded as campaign expense. You could see how many hush money payments each election had to make. And then I guess that would erode the entire thing, because then you would look through it and you'd see who they were making the hush money payments to. And I guess that could be your the start of your stories, is digging into the hush money payments. This is from New York Magazine. I've never seen New York Magazine, I think, be typically right-wing. Not something I read every day, so I can't say for sure, but let's give this a read. So to inflate the charges up to the lowest level felony, Class E on a scale of Class A through E, and to electroshock them back to life with within the longer felony statute of limitations, the DA alleged that the falsification of business records was committed with intent to commit another crime. Here, according to prosecutors, the another crime is a New York State election law violation, which in turn incorporate three separate unlawful means: federal campaign crimes, tax crimes, and falsification of still more documents. Inexcusably, the DA refused to specify what those unlawful means actually were, and the judge declined to force them to pony up until right before closing arguments. So much for the constitutional obligation to provide notice to the defendant of the accusations against him in advance of trial. In these key respects, the charges against Trump aren't just unusual, they're bespoke, seemingly crafted individually for the former president and nobody else. The Manhattan's DA employees reportedly have called this the zombie case because of various legal infirmities, including its bizarre charging mechanism, but it's better characterized as the Frankenstein case, cobbled together with ill-fitting parts and an ugly, awkward, but more or less functioning contraption that might actually turn on its creator. This is now from the New York Times. And by the way, this is the ADD. Even I've already read these articles, getting bored reading them out loud. It's going to be interesting because, I don't know. I don't think Donald Trump's going to jail. It'll be interesting to see what kind of what the actual sentence is here. My guess is it'll be good enough for everyone just to scream. Oh, here would probably be the funniest punishment, is if the judge just made him come into court every single day and sit there and think about what he's done. I'll let you off on jail, but you gotta keep showing up to this court. And sure, you can sit there and sleep, and you can take your lunch breaks, and you can eat your milk duds, but I want to see you here every single day just to think about what it is, good sir, that you have done. So I don't know. Maybe they keep having to haul him back to figure out what his punishment's going to be. They drag it out. Maybe it's some sort of a weaselly way to get them out of the debates. They get to keep talking about how he's a felon, but now he's probably not going to jail. And then I guess he probably at some point, he'll get into office. I don't think he's going to weaponize the Justice Department to go after other people, because he's a little bit of a pussy once he gets in there. Once he gets in there, he seems to just want to be left alone to eat his McDonald's, clap himself on the back, and say, hey, look, I'm in charge of this thing. And he doesn't really care. He doesn't want to pick these fights. I don't know. Maybe he'll prove us all wrong. Maybe he'll go in there and he'll start locking up Hillary Clinton. But we're going to hear a lot about how he can't possibly win the election because if he gets in, think about it, he's going to weaponize the Justice Department. And then if he goes in and he does a review of this thing and he gets Alvin Bragg fired, all you're going to hear about then is how he went into office and weaponized the Justice Department. I mean, the amount of circular horseshit that we're going to have to hear about for years on end here. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to end up in an environment where now the incumbent party is always going after the other ones? Or it was just that Donald Trump is so unpopular and the deep state pulled all of its dirty tricks, but the second Donald Trump's in there, you end up with deep state people in all the other positions. And so they wouldn't possibly do what the Justice Department or others just did to Trump. They wouldn't weaponize in that way. Anyways, the point I'm trying to get at is that these charges, my guess is he's not going to go to jail, and then at some point he'll win on appeal, or at some point he'll become president, and then this will just kind of go away because he'll be back in office. And then I guess when he does, all we're going to hear about from the left is this isn't fair. He was found guilty, totally ignoring the fact that no other president's ever been prosecuted for this thing. And as we just saw from all the circular logic, it seems like a huge sham, but they're going to go, this was that no one's supposed to be above the law, and this is the injustice and corruption of our system, that just because this guy is president, he's not actually going to go serve out his time in jail. All right, this is from the New York Times. Yesterday, however, a criminal jury judged Trump for the first time. The verdict was guilty 34 times, pronounced late in the afternoon in downtown Manhattan. The prosecutor argued that Trump had falsified business records to hide a sexual affair from voters and corrupt the 2016 election. After 2 days of deliberation, the 12 jurors agreed. Trump has become the first former president of the United States to be a convicted felon. There you go. Doesn't that sound so good? Doesn't that just sound like such a juicy story? Man, what did this guy do that nobody else has done, that he's the first former president to be a convicted felon? Or is he the one guy so hated by the system that they went after him so that they could claim the title and do that thing that they do? All right. Yes, the caveats are important. He will appeal, and some legal experts think he has a case given the novel combination of accusations that the prosecutors made. It is unclear when or even if he will go to prison. Most important, nobody knows whether it will help or hurt his presidential campaign. My guess is that this will not hurt his presidential campaign. My guess is for all the people that would like to go back to living in a normal country, and that includes trying to address problems such as inflation, trying to address problems such as what's going on in our border, trying to address problems like why does a leader with dementia seemingly want to escalate towards nuclear war in both the Middle East and in Russia? And so you go, listen, can we quit with all the shenanigans about hooker money payments and actually have a conversation about the issues? You guys were supposed to be the adults in the room that said that we were going to return this thing back to normal. And instead of having an election cycle where we get to debate, hey, should people have free healthcare? Should we have people pouring over the border? We're having conversations about whether or not the president made an improper hush money payment, which, guess what? When people can't afford the grocery bills, they just don't care about. But that's where we're at. They think that this might, the claim that they want to make is that there's some people that were on the fence about supporting Donald Trump, and now that he's considered to be a felon. No, I don't think that anyone that doesn't like Donald Trump didn't like Donald Trump. And it's because they're so convinced that he's the most evil and disgusting person ever, and he brings down the dignity of our office. And you know what that is? It's because they don't like the mirror reflection of what our government actually is. And it blows the illusion. It forces them to eat a red pill of our government's not that great. They're not that nice. They're all evil people, and they're not working out in your best interest. But when Donald Trump's in there, they can't ignore that reality. When anyone else is in there, they can ignore it. They can pretend. When everyone else talks nicely, they can go, oh, look, that's a nice person. That's an old man. Obama has our best interest. And that's what they like. They like living in the illusion. And when Donald Trump's there, they don't get to have their illusion. And so they outrage, they scream, and they yell because they don't like the mirror reflection of what the system actually is. But here they are. You know, they got their guilty verdict. They get to say that he's the first president ever to be considered a felon. And so here, we could look at some of the corporate press coverage of the decision.
So I think you're probably talking about the most important point that happened during this trial, and including the verdict. And it overshadows the big headlines that say guilty on every front page in the country. And it is the fact that 12 ordinary American citizens, perhaps of different political beliefs, different religious beliefs, different ethnic backgrounds. We don't know that.
All New Yorkers. I mean, we know that. We know that it was done in New York, and that if you brought it to most other states, you probably wouldn't have had the same decision. But sure, we can pretend like this was not, an impartial jury. Sure, let's go with that.
12 average Americans sat in a room, and guess what? They didn't get information or evidence from TikTok or Instagram.
You see what happens when you can finally get away from misinformation? That's the problem. The internet, it's not a open place where anyone can get ideas. If you can just remove people like me and all the other people that give you misinformation and actually have people getting real information that's kind of shaped by, a Justice Department that's clearly going after someone. But, if you can be in environments where people are just getting good and honest information and not all the chaos that we get online, then of course they will say that Donald Trump's a criminal, because that's what happens. Whenever you get good and honest information, you realize your kids should be vaccinated and boosted. Ukraine needs more war funding and that they can win a war. It's just the disinformation that you get online. Proof once again that if once again we could just return the world to where all information is just sifted through the proper avenues, such as what we say on this news station or what gets into the hand-selected court districts by people that ran on taking people down, then we can finally have the conclusions that you can all hear how circular this is.
You got evidence presented rationally by the prosecution in this case, and they made a decision that Donald J. Trump was guilty. And Donald J. Trump's reaction to the guilty verdict was, once again, he's already demeaned.
Guilty, felon, guilty, felon. Guys, get ready for it. This guilty felon. How can the Republican Party still allow for a guilty felon? And here, Lester Holt, let's hear how many times he repeats the words crime and guilty.
Guilty on all counts. Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States, was found guilty late today in a New York courthouse on all 34 counts of falsifying business records to conceal payments to a porn star just before the 2016 election. The stunning verdict was delivered by a Manhattan jury of 7 men and 5 women who deliberated for 2 days.
Random jury, guilty felon. Random jury of your peers, honest facts, guilty felon. Look forward to the next 2 months, people. Guilty felon. All right. I don't know. It's about Donald Trump going to prison. I'm over this topic. All right. Last slide. What do we got? Last slide. And that's our episode. But before we call it an episode, let's thank YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo. Only place in the entire world you can get an entire kilo of Kratom for just $60. And speaking of great ideas, and which includes not just getting full kilos of Kratom for $60, this was an article in the Wall Street Journal, U.S. issues guidelines for buying carbon offsets, which is, guys, I might electrocute myself in my sleep, but I got some great ideas over here. I've been talking about jarring your farts, and I've been talking about higher carbon reducing trees. And, sometimes it's incredible how I can be ahead of the news cycle by 2 or 3 years. Believe me, you're gonna see and read more of this, and you're gonna go, why didn't I not invest in Rob's higher carbon reducing trees before Wall Street ended up running 45 different versions of this exact scam? All right, that is our episode. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Summer Porch Store. Go to summerporchstore.com. Actually, go to porchstore.com. Summerporchstore.com is last year's thing. I got to update it. Keep it simple. Porchstore.com. I'm going to be hanging out at a porch near you. You can come out. You can have a beer. You can talk politics. You can, I don't know. All right, guys, it's an episode. I got to go eat some breakfast. I got to get on the road. Got to get to Atlantic City, play some craps, and make tonight's theater show happen. If you're out in Atlantic City, come hang out. It's at Harrah's. You can find the link for that at comicdavesmith.com. And that's our episode. Later, people.